When working around electrical equipment, maintaining proper clearance is crucial for safety. Specifically, for a 34.5 kV breaker, the minimum required clearance is 10 feet, which is equivalent to 3.5 meters. This clearance is mandated by electrical codes to prevent accidental contact and arc-over, which can lead to serious injury or death. The purpose of this clearance is to ensure that personnel have enough space to safely operate and maintain the equipment without encroaching on the minimum air insulation distance required to prevent electrical breakdown. Factors affecting the required clearance can include voltage level, the presence of grounded objects, and specific local codes that may impose stricter requirements. Always consult the latest edition of the National Electrical Code, specifically Article 110.26, and any applicable local amendments to ensure compliance with all relevant regulations. For equipment operating at higher voltages, the required clearance increases proportionally. The 10-foot or 3.5 meter clearance rule applies to situations where unqualified persons might have access. Qualified electrical workers may be permitted to work closer to energized equipment, provided they use appropriate personal protective equipment, such as insulated gloves and clothing, and maintain a safe working distance based on the voltage level and potential hazard. It is critical to understand that the clearance requirement is not just a suggestion. It's a legally enforceable standard designed to protect individuals from the dangers of high-voltage electricity. Failure to adhere to these clearance requirements can result in significant penalties, including fines and potential legal liability in the event of an accident. In addition to the minimum clearance, it is essential to maintain a clear and unobstructed path to and from electrical equipment. This means ensuring that there are no obstacles, such as storage boxes or other equipment, that could impede access to the breaker in an emergency. The area around the breaker should be well lit to allow for safe operation and maintenance, especially during nighttime or in poorly lit environments. Regular inspections should be conducted to verify that the required clearance is maintained and that there are no potential hazards in the vicinity of the electrical equipment. Any violations should be promptly corrected to ensure the ongoing safety of personnel and the integrity of the electrical system. When working around 34.5 kilovolts breakers, always assume that the equipment is energized and take all necessary precautions to prevent accidental contact. Never reach into or across energized equipment, and use appropriate tools and equipment that are rated for the voltage level. If you are not qualified to work on or around high voltage equipment, stay away and notify a qualified electrician or technician. Remember that electricity can be unforgiving, and even a momentary lapse in judgment can have devastating consequences. Prioritize safety at all times and follow all applicable codes and regulations. The 10-foot or 3.5 meter clearance is a general rule for 34.5 kilovolts breakers. However, specific installations and local jurisdictions may have variations or additional requirements. Always refer to the equipment manufacturer's specifications and local codes for the most accurate and up-to-date information. Consider additional safety measures, such as installing barriers or guardrails, to further restrict access to the breaker and prevent accidental contact. Post warning signs and labels to clearly indicate the presence of high voltage equipment and the required clearance. Educate all personnel who may be working in the area about the hazards of high voltage electricity and the importance of maintaining proper clearance. Regularly review and update safety procedures to ensure that they are effective and relevant to the specific work environment. Encourage a culture of safety, where employees are empowered to report hazards and take corrective action to prevent accidents. By following these guidelines, you can help to ensure a safe working environment and prevent electrical injuries and fatalities. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, provides detailed requirements for working space around electrical equipment. NEC Article 110.26 specifies the minimum working space required in front of electrical equipment depending on the voltage level and the conditions of the installation. Condition 1 applies where there are exposed live parts on one side of the working space and no grounded parts on the other side of the working space, or where grounded parts are on both sides of the working space. Condition 2 applies where there are exposed live parts on one side of the working space and grounded parts on the other side of the working space. Condition 3 applies where there are exposed live parts on both sides of the working space. The depth of the working space is determined by the voltage to ground and the condition of the installation. For example, for equipment operating at 34.5 kilovolts, the minimum depth of the working space may be 5 feet, depending on the condition. The width of the working space must be at least 30 inches or the width of the equipment, whichever is greater. The height of the working space must be at least 6 feet 6 inches or the height of the equipment, whichever is greater. The working space must be clear and unobstructed. There must be a clear and unobstructed entrance to an egress from the working space. The entrance to the working space must be at least 24 inches wide and 6 feet 6 inches high. The egress from the working space must be at least 22 inches wide and 6 feet 6 inches high. The working space must be adequately illuminated. The illumination level must be at least 10-foot candles. The working space must be protected from the weather. The working space must be free from hazardous materials. The working space must be properly grounded. The grounding system must comply with the requirements of NEC Article 250. The grounding system must be tested regularly to ensure that it is functioning properly. The working space must be inspected regularly to ensure that it is safe. Any hazards that are found must be corrected immediately. Employees who work in the working space must be properly trained. They must be trained in the hazards of working with electricity and the proper safety procedures. They must be trained in the use of personal protective equipment. They must be trained in the proper procedures for responding to electrical emergencies. It is important to remember that electrical safety is everyone's responsibility. By following the requirements of the NEC and by taking appropriate safety precautions, we can help to prevent electrical accidents and injuries. Always use appropriate personal protective equipment when working around electrical equipment, including insulated gloves, safety glasses, and hearing protection. Never work on energized electrical equipment unless you are properly trained and authorized to do so. If you are not sure how to do something safely, ask for help. Be aware of your surroundings and pay attention to potential hazards. Report any electrical hazards to your supervisor or safety officer. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Never take shortcuts or compromise safety for the sake of convenience. Keep your work area clean and organized. Store tools and equipment properly. Dispose of waste material safely. Be aware of the potential for arc flash and arc blast. Arc flash is a dangerous electrical explosion that can cause serious burns, injuries, and even death. Arc blast is a pressure wave that can cause hearing loss, lung damage, and other injuries. Wear appropriate arc-rated clothing and personal protective equipment when working around energized electrical equipment. Maintain a safe distance from energized electrical equipment. Use insulated tools and equipment. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Be aware of the potential for electrical shock. Electrical shock can cause serious burns, injuries, and even death. Avoid contact with energized electrical equipment. Use insulated tools and equipment. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Be aware of the potential for falls. Falls can cause serious injuries and even death. Use fall protection equipment when working at heights. Maintain a safe work area. Be aware of your surroundings. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Be aware of the potential for slips and trips. Slips and trips can cause serious injuries and even death. Wear appropriate footwear. Maintain a safe work area. Be aware of your surroundings. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Be aware of the potential for struck by hazards. Struck by hazards can cause serious injuries and even death. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment. Maintain a safe work area. Be aware of your surroundings. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Be aware of the potential for cotton hazards. Cotton hazards can cause serious injuries and even death. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment. Maintain a safe work area. Be aware of your surroundings. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Be aware of the potential for electrical fires. Electrical fires can cause serious damage and even death. Use proper wiring and electrical equipment. Maintain a safe work area. Be aware of your surroundings. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Be aware of the potential for explosions. Explosions can cause serious damage and even death. Use proper handling and storage procedures for flammable materials. Maintain a safe work area. Be aware of your surroundings. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. Remember that safety is everyone's responsibility. By following these safety tips, we can help to prevent electrical accidents and injuries. Consider the specific environmental conditions when determining clearance requirements. High humidity, altitude, and the presence of contaminants can affect the insulation strength of air and may necessitate increased clearances. Consult with a qualified electrical engineer to assess the specific conditions of the installation and determine the appropriate clearance requirements. When working around 34.5 kilovolts breakers, it is also important to be aware of the potential for step potential and touch potential. Step potential is the voltage difference between 2 points on the ground that are a foot apart. Touch potential is the voltage difference between an energized object and the ground. Both step potential and touch potential can be dangerous and can cause electrical shock. To protect yourself from step potential and touch potential, always wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as insulated boots and gloves. Maintain a safe distance from energized electrical equipment. Use insulated tools and equipment. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. In addition to the NEC, there may be other applicable codes and standards that govern the installation and maintenance of electrical equipment. For example, the National Electrical Safety Code, or NESC, provides safety requirements for electric supply and communication lines and equipment. It is important to be familiar with all applicable codes and standards and to follow them carefully. When in doubt, always consult with a qualified electrical engineer or electrician. Regular training and refresher courses are essential for maintaining a safe working environment around electrical equipment. Employees should be trained on the hazards of electricity, the proper safety procedures, and the use of personal protective equipment. Training should be conducted regularly and should be updated to reflect changes in codes, standards, and technology. A comprehensive safety program should include regular inspections, audits, and safety meetings. Inspection should be conducted to identify potential hazards and to verify that safety procedures are being followed. Audits should be conducted to evaluate the effectiveness of the safety program. Safety meetings should be held regularly to discuss safety issues and to provide employees with updates on safety procedures. A well-designed and implemented safety program can help to prevent electrical accidents and injuries and can create a safer working environment for everyone. The 10-foot or 3.5 meter clearance around a 34.5 kilovolts breaker is a critical safety requirement that must be strictly adhered to. By understanding the purpose of this clearance and by taking appropriate safety precautions, you can help to protect yourself and others from the dangers of high voltage electricity. Always remember that safety is the top priority when working around electrical equipment. Never take shortcuts or compromise safety for the sake of convenience. If you are not sure how to do something safely, ask for help. Be aware of your surroundings and pay attention to potential hazards. Report any electrical hazards to your supervisor or safety officer. Follow all safety procedures and regulations. By working together, we can create a safer working environment for everyone.